Greetings everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. We're back again with more Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. This time we have the ending slides if you went down the Trickster mythic path. Of course, this is my particular playthrough. I did get all the way up to mythic level 10 and completed all of the mythic quest. Obviously, there will be huge spoilers in these slides, but if you don't care about that, let's go ahead and get started. Life and death, destiny and great deeds, answers to mysteries, the search for one's true path. The mind can comprehend all of these, and then such concepts can be written down as a sequence of formulas, a series of lines, a chain of thought. Still, a moment always comes when it's time to wrap up, to reach a conclusion, to put a period on the end of the last sentence. Or should it be an ellipsis instead, an empty space where the description of the end result should be? After all, a century of crusades changed nothing. The gaping Worldwound remained on the face of Golarion. The Worldwound remained open, just like the wound that was slowly killing the commander. He managed to escape his impending death by becoming a part of the enigmatic entity known as Shaika, the Many. But at what cost? Did the commander's original personality persist, or did it dissolve in Shaika's numerous identities? What was once called the Worldwound turned into the Crossroads of worlds, open to every outsider at once. Any mortal who ventured there was at constant risk of becoming collateral damage in the struggle between angels and demons, or between devils and azatas. And only the Fae of the First World felt at home there. What kind of ending was that? No. It all went completely differently. Oh, wow. So you could change the slides of a Trickster? I'm sorry, this is actually my first time reading through this as well. Holy smokes. Okay, let's go with it. What kind of ending was that? No. It all went completely differently. Fine. You rewrote your epilogue on a whim. Oh, these tricksters. Fine. The part about Shaika is merely my own conjecture. Let me rephrase. The Worldwound remained open, just like the wound that was slowly killing the commander. However, he managed to escape his impending death by sharing his fate with the entity known as Shaika the Many. What was once called the Worldwound turned into the Crossroads of worlds, a vibrant, inconceivable place bustling with outsiders. Instead of crusaders, the place was a hub that drew scientists, treasure hunters, merchants, and other collectors of curios from all over Golarion. I hope this narrative is more to your liking. Then please do not interrupt. Allow me to finish writing up my report on this experiment. The Fifth Crusade might not have lasted long, but in that short time, Dresden became the commander's city, his bulwark, his citadel. Unsurprisingly, he remained the ruler of the city and the surrounding lands after the spectacular victory at Threshold. The Council of Semi-Divine Entities continued to convene on a regular basis. The wise council members argued endlessly, trying to answer the perennial question, what is to be done about the Worldwound? The council convened one last time to celebrate the glorious victory over Nocticula and the transformation of the Worldwound into the Crossroads of worlds. Throughout the feast, the council members couldn't shake the nagging feeling that they had forgotten to invite someone to the party. But they were so preoccupied with toasting their own wisdom that they never remembered who it could be. The energetic King Thurberdine reigned over the merry city of Dresden for many years. He was hailed as the finest monarch in the history of Golarion, as he never interfered in the affairs of the city, but simply hosted one festival after another, and the people say that he brought luck to any who raised a glass to his majesty's health. The Church of Caden Kylene revered him as a saint. Although the commander became the symbol of the Fifth Crusade, there were still those among the Crusaders who were dissatisfied with his actions. Years later, their words served as the basis for many alternate versions of the history of the struggle against the Worldwound. With the conclusion of the war, Dresden, the heroic fortress of the Crusaders, began to wane in importance. The memories of the gruesome battles faded, the deeds of the brave were forgotten. A mere century later, Dresden had once again become just another northern garrison, and the legacy of the Fifth Crusade began to slip into obscurity. Queen Galfrey returned to Nerosian with the intent to rule Mendev as before, but as it turned out, Mendevian society was hungry for change. The war-ravaged nation desired new leadership, but the queen would not countenance yielding her authority to anyone else. She believed her duty to her homeland had not yet been fulfilled. Quite a few Mendevians wanted to see Darren Arende inherit the throne. The chain of wardstones stood at the border of the former Worldwound as before. The angels inside them slowly drifted off into slumber, to wake again should evil ever again rear its head in those lands. After suffering defeat at the commander's hands, Nocticula disappeared into the shadows and lay low. Intuition told her that the world had changed, which meant that it was time for her to change as well. If a mortal could rise and claim the power of a demon lord, could a demonic ruler ascend and become a deity? Demon Lord Baphomet suffered a defeat, but his ambitions were undimmed. The war room remained open, and therefore, the war with Golarion was not over. The Demon Lord Deskari just suffered a defeat. He bided his time, continuing to plot his invasion of Golarion, and after that, of heaven itself. The cultists that remained on Golarion went mad one after another, tortured by the nightmarish dreams their lord sent to them. For a time unknown, the whereabouts of WotR were completely unknown, but then the River Kingdom saw the publication of her shocking book, To the Abyss and Back, The Crusade Through the Eyes of a Former Cultist. The book was banned in several countries, and a bounty was placed on Nora's head, but the elusive writer always escaped the clutches of the Inquisitors. Having rediscovered his own story, the storyteller rejected the goddess's proposal. He was celebrated as a great historian and rightfully held the position of Dean of the History faculty at the Arcanumarium, the most renowned academy in Absalom. Another 40 years passed before his age caught up with him, and it was his turn to appear before the Lady of Graves. Once again, Sela heard the call of the open road. Even after gaining mythic powers and coming face to face with a goddess and demon lords, she never stopped being a paladin and a wandering knight whose purpose was to help others. Staying true to friends was in Sela's blood, and it is said that even while journeying through the furthest reaches of Golarion, she tried her best to keep in touch with the commander. Their rare meetings were always filled with joy. Once the war had ended, Camellia grew bored and irritable. Shortly afterward, on a moonless night, she vanished. The event was preceded by a futile attempt to drive a dagger into the former commander's heart. About a month later, an assassin by the name of Maria arrived in Varisia. She had few things in common with the missing woman, apart from a fondness for cutting the hearts out of her victims. After Horgis's death, an unknown half-elf woman laid claim to his fortune. She introduced herself as Horgis's daughter and presented his will as proof. However, having received the fortune, the young woman transferred it to Mendev's treasury under a single condition. She insisted that the name of the Gorm family should be forever remembered in Mendev's chronicles as one of the state's greatest benefactors. Wenduog became the queen of the mongrels, and in so doing, assumed her rightful place among her people. She gave her rugged brethren a place to settle, a patch of the untamed waste taken back from the demons. In time, those parts were named the Salt Lands in remembrance of the sweat and blood paid by the young nation at the dawn of its existence. Thanks to their firm and determined ruler, the mongrel race survived their first perilous years of trials and hardship to forge a great future for themselves. After each battle, Wenduog would hurry to seek out the commander to boast of yet another victory. Naturally, she was still the same devious, cruel savage that could not be trusted. Perhaps it was because of this constant sense of danger that the passion between the commander and Wenduog always remained ardent. Ember joined the Redeemed Brotherhood. She never recognized herself as their leader or gave any orders, but her very presence inspired the former miscreants to perform great deeds. Over time, the Brotherhood grew into a major religious movement. Its preachers took a vow of poverty and walked the roads of Golarion, helping the needy, convincing villains to change their ways, and entreating both good and evil deities alike to be more merciful to mortal kind. Soon after the war, the tireless researcher of all things researchable embarked on a new journey. She had a sudden urge to know how much time it would take to visit every nation on Golarion. She never returned. No, she did not perish. She simply got carried away with another experiment and forgot to come back. Darren Orende embraced his new life, one that was free of the other. He became more mature, his smile grew colder, and his choice of diversions more elaborate, and he acquired an imperious streak. Inquisitor Leotor's blood seemed to have let darkness into Darren's soul. Or had it always dwelt there? Whatever the case, in that darkness, he was free and happy as never before. He never lost his respect, or should that be his fondness, for the commander, and would often visit him in Dresden. Woljif was not tempted by the laurels of a war hero, for his true heritage awaited him in the abyss. After saying his farewells to the chief, the former thiefling went to Alan Shinra to claim what was his by right. His vast experience in shading dealings meant that Woljif was in his element. He became the best fence and fixer in the city. He always knew where to find reliable assassins when the next shipment of artifacts would arrive from Golarion, and which aristocrats were planning a coup for this month. After the victory, Soseo returned home. Now a famed Crusader hero, he humbly officiated at a temple of Shellen, painted, grew sweet-smelling fruits, and made the best wine in the region. His former kindly smile returned less and less often. He avoided talking about the war, and when people asked about his brother's fate, he just curtly replied that Trevor had been killed by demons. There was one person who took particular offense at the commander's final joke. Reza Durange had not the slightest inkling that he would become an unwitting accomplice to turning the lands of the former wound into an insane crossroads of worlds. The shock was so strong that it reversed Regal's bleaching by at least 100 years. The gnome vowed to dedicate his life to rectifying the chaos caused by the commander. After the war, Greybor went off on his own personal conquest. He traveled to Alan Shinra and killed 4 candidates for the position of the head of the Assassin's Guild, whereupon he rightfully took the position himself and became a preeminent figure in the Midnight Isles. Under his leadership, the guild prospered, and the denizens of many planes would shudder whenever they heard the innocent phrase, "Sweet dreams." Arushale made her triumphant return to the Abyss. The fabled succubus found many admirers, minions, and sycophants in Alan Shinra. Her authority grew. Soon, an unfortunate accident happened to the keeper of the battle bliss, and the arena found itself a new mistress.
And what of me, the writer of these words? The half-demon witch known as the architect of the Worldwound. I was defeated and fell at the hand of the one I had tried to transform. My experiment ended in failure, and my life ended along with it. I have recounted the story of my life for you, Pharasma, Lady of Graves. Not only of my life, but of the Commander's also. I believe the tale of such an illustrious figure would pique even a goddess's curiosity. Now you know everything. I await your verdict, goddess.
Silence hangs over the boneyard. The Lady of Graves is weighing her decision, and it seems the entire universe is holding its breath, awaiting her pronouncement. Who would dare to break a silence so absolute? Intervene. Though you are no longer here, your mythic powers entitle you to a say in this trial. Let Pharasma deliver her verdict.
You wrought great evil, while it stemmed from the evil that was done to you. Your actions far exceeded it. Your soul is dark, and there is only one place for you in the universe. I shall send you to the abyss, plane of pain and fury, suffering and privation. That which you have done to others will now be done to you. So be it.
Okay, and that was the ending for Trickster. Hope all of you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a like down below, share this content, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next video. Take care.